So you've got a product or even just idea for one. The dream is usually the same. Get it onto the store shelves, and one of the keys that opens that door is a great pitch deck. So here's the problem. My first one was about like 22 slides and it was beautiful. I spent 2 weeks on it and it got into exactly 0 stores. The deck I'm about to show you is 7 to 12 slides, depending on how much information you want to put in your product page. So I built it in an afternoon, and it's one that got me into over 1,200 stores. So funny how that works, right? So today I'm walking you through that deck slide by slide. What's on each one, why it's there, and which slide actually closed the deal. Steal all of it, that's the point. So quick thing before we dive in, if pitch deck sounds like a startup jargon, relax, it's not. It's just a short slideshow you use to convince someone to carry your product in their stores. The one we're going over is not an investor deck, so it's a buyer deck, built for the one person who decides what goes on a grocery shelf. Hi, this is Gia. I took a Sichuan condiment brand from my home kitchen to over 1,200 grocery stores in 3 years. And on this channel, I share the real, unfiltered version of how. One thing you should keep in mind when presenting your pitch is every buyer listening to your pitch is thinking only one question: will this make me money? So every slide has to answer that, or it gets cut. A tight 7 to 12 slide deck beats a gorgeous 20 slide deck every time. So let's go through it. What you see in the first slide is to tell who you are. What's on it is usually your brand name, one line that says exactly what you are, and then the story. So our brand is built on a family legacy. So my mother invented the famous yuanyang pot used in every hotpot restaurant. Therefore, she's regarded as the queen of hotpot by Chinese media, and hence the inspiration for our brand's name. So me as a second generation, we wanted not only to honor her legacy, but also bring the bold flavor of Chongqing that I grew up with to American kitchen. So this story is very important to me. It establishes authority, gives authentic background story, and paints a picture of who we are and why do we do things that we do. So why you should put something like that here. This is the same as a 3-second rule, right? In one line, the buyer should know what you are and why you're different. And leading with my mom isn't vanity, it's instant credibility and a story that buyers can retell. So people like stories, and everyone has something to tell why they started the brand, and that's personal to them. So make your story stick. Remember, the buyer has to pitch you internally. They go back to their boss, their category manager, or their team, their merchandising lead. If you hand them a story that they can repeat in one sentence, you just turn the buyer into a salesperson. So for your move, your cover needs a one-liner a stranger could repeat after hearing it once. If they can retell it, rewrite it. I forgot to say that I have my who we are in slide 1 and 2, but you can definitely condense it into just one page. So for my slide 3 and 4, I talk about the moat. Since you tell the story, now it's time to tell why you're different. That is your moat. So what's on it? So for us, we own our factory in the Sichuan County, which is China's chili capital, and it's been running for 18 years. And it is surrounded by farms that growing the Sichuan Hong chili, a national protected pepper you can't just source anywhere. And our doubarjiang, which is spicy fermented chili bean paste, they are fermenting in clay pots for over 18 months to 3 years. That's the third slide and the fourth slide, summarizing the key differentiator more clearly. So in our case, I think one, we talk about family legacy, something you can copy. Then we talk about the supply chain with ingredients that we can control. And then the last one, we talk about price, value that you can beat. So why are they there? Having a family factory is a huge advantage because here's the buyer's real fear, right? They put you on the shelf, you do well, then 10 Me Too brands show up next year and undercut you. Only the supply chain answers that fear before they even ask it. It tells them this brand has a floor nobody else can dig under. So for you, find your one uncopyable thing. Could be a supply chain, could be a founder story, maybe a process, a unique ingredients, a new format, or something that sets you apart, and move it to the front of your deck. If you don't have one yet, that's your real homework, not the design. All right, so for slide 5 and 6, the product line. So what's on it? 6 products across 2 lines. 3 sauces. So we have our wild mushroom chili sauce, the crunchy garlic chili crisp, the toasted seed chili crunch, and the 3 noodle meal kits. The spicy hot pot noodles, the dandan noodles, the roasted chili, biang biang noodles. So plus the call-outs. MSG free, no preservatives, vegan, gluten free. So why is there? The buyers think in categories and shelf sets, not in random products. So I show the line the way it should actually sit on their shelf. Hero product first, grouped by lines. Then the clean label calls to go where the eye lands, because those are the exact filters their shoppers use. So your move, present your products as a shelf set, not as a pile. Lead with your hero, group by line, and pull your strongest claims in your biggest text. All right, for slide 7, this is a market and then why now. So for my slide, what's on it? I gave 2 numbers, basically. Asian packaged foods grew nearly 4 times faster than total packaged food in 2024. And Asian grocery sales went up from 1.6 billion in 2021 to over 2.3 billion in 2026. And I usually cite the source. This is from Circana and Spence data. So why is there? A buyer isn't just betting on you. They're betting on your whole category. So the slide says this aisle is growing, and if you're not in it, you're leaving money on the table. It gives them cover to say yes to their boss. So for you, find 2 or 3 credible category stats like Circana, Spence, and IQ. Keep it to a few numbers. Don't drown them, and make sure they're recent. Always put the source on the slide. All right, so the next slide, slide 8, is tractions and distribution. So for my what's on it, the proof. 1,200 plus stores, US stores, 300 in Australia, 5 distributors. I list out my major ones. You put like the national ones first, like Unified, Keiki, and then my regional ones like Chex, Crown, and River Valley. So I also tell them where my warehouses are. Like I have warehouses on both coasts. And also I list the stores that we're already in. The Fresh Market, the Wegmans, the Hy-Vee, the Fresh Stein, the World Market, PCC Hagen. Another idea, which I should be doing, is to present this page to compile a wall of store logos that already stock your product. The visual helps the buyer to comprehend easier and faster. So what is there? If you had to pick the single most important slide, it's this one. It's the social proof. The second a buyer sees you're already in stores like theirs, floating through real distributions, their risk drops through the floor. I would also add velocity data if you have them. I didn't put them in there because the velocity data changes depending on the type of stores. So I usually just say it during the pitch instead of writing it down. But if your velocity numbers are consistent and good, I recommend to put it in your slide. So for you, even if you're tiny, show something. Your 3 best independent counts, the velocity from 1 strong demo, a reorder from a single store, real proof that you can sell beats big projection you can back up. All right, for slide 9 is pricing and positioning. So what's on it? For me, it's just a simple positioning map. In my slide, this is an easy graph to show where we sit in terms of retail pricing against other premium condiments and mass products. So why is there? The buyer needs to instantly see where you fit in their shelf and who you are taking shares from. I think if you can be honest and name a few competitors and how your pricing is comparing to them, that's great. I would even suggest you go one step further and find out the similar products this retailer you are pitching to have on their shelves and customize the slides just for them, so they can easily see where and how your product fit on the shelf. So for your move, put yourself on a real positioning map with real competitors and real prices. If you can't clearly say who you beat and why, the buyers can't either, and confusion is usually a no. All right, this is your last slide, is the ask. What's on it? This is exactly what I want, right? Which SKUs I'm proposing, which program or timing, and how to reach me. That's it. So why is there? So many founders end on, thank you for your time, and leave the buyer guessing about what happens next. Don't make them figure it out. Tell them the specific next step and make it easy to say yes. A clear ask is respect, not pressure. It says you value their time and you came prepared. So for you, end each deck with one clear specific ask. Never make a buyer reverse engineer what you want from them. So that's the whole deck. I have 12 slides, but you can easily cut it down to 7. And notice what's not in there. No 40-page appendix, no 5-year financial projections, no mission statement portrait, just who we are, why we're uncopyable, what we sell, why the category is hot, proof that we already sell, where we fit, and what we want. Every slide answers the buyer's one real question. Will this make me money? So if you're building your deck right now, screenshot this structure and lay your slides against it. I promise it will be tighter tomorrow than it is today. All right, that's it for today. If you want to know from a retail buyer side what kind of brand they're looking for and what the requirements are, you can watch this podcast with Dwight Richmond, who is a senior retail buyer and spill all the beans from the other side. Okay, if this video was helpful, please hit subscribe. I will see you next week.